and writers and patrons of the Open Book Festival. Thank you for joining us for, I think, one of the first, if not the first, Bosasa Billions events.
It is, yes.
It is.
Yes.
We will be unpacking the realm of Bosasa with all its intricacies, from loaves of bread going into the oven, from chicken rye packs and orders of luxury alcohol, from a prawn farm in Waitford, Kruger's door, and much, much more. But of course, the gist of your book changed profoundly in light of recent events in the news. Late August the 26th, 5 o'clock or so in the morning, Gavin Watson, driving in the vicinity of the International Airport in Johannesburg, hits a concrete pole, or kind of structure. Yeah. What did that do for you as the authors of this book, and will you be supplementing the text with a chapter?
Well, let's wait for that to unravel and see how that comes.
No, look, it was a shock. I mean, obviously, unexpected, completely unexpected. I'm just happy the book came out about 8 days, was in shelves 8 days before he died. Otherwise, it would look very fishy. So the timing, no, right? I mean, but it was completely unexpected, and of course, you know, we never want to. Well, for us, and I'm sure Paul as well, we never want to jump on somebody's death to promote a book. But certainly, you know, it just went crazy. Everybody suddenly wanted to talk to us and find out who these people are and where they come from and some of the background. It literally, you know, tenfold the interest into the story. I mean, there was a lot of interest, but when it died, it just exploded.
So just talking about who people are, I left out a critical part of my role as convener of this talk, which is to, of course, introduce the authors of Bosasa Billions, which is published by oud-president, James-Brent Styan and Paul Vecchiatto, both journalist veterans. James-Brent Styan is no longer a journalist, he's now a full-time and
I'm the writer. That's okay.
And then Paul works for Bloomberg. I'm Erin Bates, freelance journalist. I've covered a lot of the hearings that you drew on in your book at the State Capture Inquiry in Johannesburg, and much of that was for the TV channel ENCA. So I want to go to the end of the book, just because I think it does lead to what we discussed initially, and raises some interesting questions. So you haven't answered whether or not you'll be supplementing the text with maybe a new foreword or an additional chapter, but let's just go through the last words, because of course we have a critical question around prosecutions and actually acting on the allegations that we've heard from the likes of Angelo Pizzi. So it goes, all right, let's go here. As far as possible, criminal prosecution is concerned, however, it remains to be seen whether the king of Bosasa, now the late Gavin Watson, who largely made his fortune from prison contracts, will himself ever see the inside of a jail cell. But of course, there's a great irony in the idea that inmates at correctional services facilities were eating food that was, on Angelo Pizzi's evidence, procured through processes that were often hiding money laundering or involved in money laundering and corruption. And just on that, if you'll indulge me once more, just to encourage you all to get this book, which is so good that you have to put a lot of tabs in because there's a lot worth taking note of. There's a quote you cite from the former head of state, Nelson Mandela, which was quite apt on that front. Former President Nelson Mandela, who was in prison for more than 27 years, said, "No one truly knows a nation until one has been inside its jail cells. A nation should not be judged on how it treats its highest citizens, but its lowest ones."
Isn't that just...
I mean, what do we make of South African society, politics and business when correctional services contracts for televisions, catering, fences, all seem to have been embroiled in the Bosasa web?
For me, that chapter was, it's something I've been working on previously, actually, quite interestingly, for something else. So it was something I've been researching, what's going on in our jails and our prisons. And it's horrific, it really is. And when people go to jail, they've been punished. They shouldn't be punished worse. And so people that are going to our jails are being punished much worse. The conditions in our jails are atrocious, absolutely atrocious. And here you've got a company that's been exploiting an area in the government where nobody cares. Who cares about prisoners? Who cares about prisons? They're criminals, nobody gives a hoot. So they've been getting away, skimming off the top billions, all likelihood, money that's not going towards improving the prisoners' environment, towards rehabilitation. So these guys are leaving jail even more hardened, which contributes to the greater circle of crime that's affecting every one of us. So when we're talking about Bosasa, it does affect every one of us, because these people are taking away money that's meant to go towards rehabilitating people that are in jails that get released again. So for me, that was a pretty interesting chapter to do. And also the Edwin Cameron who recently retired, the Constitutional Court Justice, who did an incredible study report in 2015, which nothing really came of it after that. But yeah, so I've been working on it for a while, and that's just some background to that chapter.
But also prisoners are also, it says a lot about broader society, in that they are one of the most vulnerable groups. So we've heard a lot about gender-based violence at the moment, because women and children are one of the more vulnerable groups in society. Prisoners are there as well. Now, there may be very good reason why many of them are in jail. However, we've got a huge number of unconvicted people sitting in jail as well at the moment.
Awaiting trial detainees.
And they're in a very supposedly controlled environment. You know, they don't choose what they're going to eat. They don't choose when they're going to go to bed or do anything like that. So it's very easy, and on a mass system like that, it's very easy to start skimming off the top.
There's thousands of people in our jails who can't afford bail of 500 rand because they were caught with some stupid thing, you know, whatever, DACA, other stupid things, thousands of them, many of them very young. And they are kept in jail for an average of 2 years before they're appearing before a court.
To huge cost to the state, and also the idea that as an inmate, whatever the background to landing in prison, you're sitting, eating from, if it's even a plate, food that in its very kind of fiber is part of a corrupt web. You deal a lot with the idea of a correctional services commissioner. So for those of you who have been following the state capture inquiry, Linda T, who you also say is often called Richmond T, comes up repeatedly. Another correctional services senior, Patrick Gillingham, who was the chief financial officer, both are accused in an ongoing criminal case around graft at Bosasa. But there's another former correctional services commissioner who's now deceased, that you deal with in quite a lot of detail based on Davis Bloom's evidence. Can you tell us about
Very interesting person. He was, I suppose, a victim of the forced removals here in Cape Town. So instead we moved out of District 6 towards Mitchell's Plain side, literally dumped him out there. I interviewed his brother-in-law for a long time about all of this. And Bernie really believed in bringing social justice because of that experience. He was socially aware, he went to university, joined church groups, social activist groups, and he really believed in doing something that was positive for society. And in the book we talk about how his change happened when he became Correctional Services Minister. He could not, Commissioner, I beg your pardon. He could not believe actually the cesspit he had landed in. He really tried hard, and we saw the testimony from Agrita and all how he was targeted for them to get rid of him.
So it's basically a good guy who's there to do what's right. He ends up becoming the commissioner at the correctional services, but he comes in at a time when it's been so corrupted already by politicians at the very top and by officials around him, and then he gradually gets worked out and he gets ground out. And that chapter is incredible, and he died at the age of 52. Tragic. And the point I want to make here is, and I'm not speaking ill of anyone who's dead, but if you look at how Gavin Watson, who's been praised and celebrated, live streamed his funeral, his memorial service, and you compare it to someone like Vernon Peterson. And if you know a little bit about who Vernon Peterson was and what he did, and how he really tried to fix what was broken and so corrupt, you've got to be a little bit sick.
His first appearance in front of our Parliament's Correctional Service Committee, they asked him, how's it going? He says, not bad. I've been Commissioner for a week and I'm still here.
I've been in office for a week and I'm still standing. Yeah. That takes us right into the heart of Parliament, which is of course very important because Bosasa officials, including Angelo Grizzi and one of the Watson brothers, went into Parliament to try and woo Vincent Smith, an ANC MP who has for many been in very high standing. He was on the committee that dealt with parliamentary funding and the bill on parliamentary funding and political funding. Yes. And yet he's one of the ANC sort of big wigs who's been accused of enjoying Bosasa gifts in the form of security upgrades to his personal residence.
Well, Vincent Smith was, with some of the other MPs, was one of the sort of spearhead on a lot of things. So he did the ad hoc committee on the SABC, ad hoc committee on the first ad hoc committee on changing the constitution for land expropriation. I mean, this whole thing about him getting, then he had to step away from that. So that was an immediate consequence. He went on, I know, to explain himself to who was then the chief whip of the ANC in Parliament, Jackson Tengu, who apparently told him, well, if that's your story, stick to it, but you're not standing around here.
And yet, Wede Mantashe, our Minister of Mineral Resources, was also allegedly the beneficiary of security upgrades. There's been a whole
But the big difference is that Vincent Smith allegedly had been receiving money on a regular basis. So what he talked about alone, 670,000 rand, apparently to send his daughter to university overseas. Agreed countered that, saying no, there was no record of a loan at all. So with a loan, they would have signed some kind of formal paperwork. Then the big surprise for me was when then Cedric Froelich was named. Now Cedric Froelich is House chairperson, not chair of chairs as somebody, there's no such thing, it's actually House chairperson. So he's in charge of all the chairmen of, or chairpersons of the various committees.
In National Parliament.
In the National Assembly. And he highly respected. Of all the presiding officers, he's the one who read the rule book. You know, when we had Balek and Betty there, before she made a decision or on anything, it was like a 10-minute pause until somebody found a relevant rule and brought it back. Cedric Froelich knew the rules, he would deal with it immediately. And when that came out, various MPs from the ANC, even the ANC just they couldn't believe it. They had no idea.
So the point is that, as you say, many of these very senior, most senior ANC MPs have been reading the system since at least 2007, 2006. We're speaking about senior MPs, and would you believe it? Most of them returned to Parliament following May this year's election, including Mr. Cedric Froelich, who's been reappointed as chair of this. What is this?
Chair, House chairperson.
And including Winnie Ngwenya.
Yes, he brings us to a wonderful and memorable quote, of which there are many, of course, in the larger and life character Angelo Oglisi's evidence before the Commission, much of which we must remember is untested at this point.
Yes.
Is Winnie Ngwenya allegedly saying on Oglisi and Dennis Bloem's evidence, I think more significantly, that Vincent Smith should try and work with these people from Bosasa because of Genuku. And the chairperson, Deputy Chief Justice, asking, what do you understand by Genuku? And Dennis Bloem saying, well, this is like, you know, Kazi talk for money. That if Vincent Smith was willing to come on board and be less hostile to Bosasa, which he was initially, there was something in it for him. There is, of course, the question around how you gather the content of this book, obviously pulling together a narrative out of a sea of evidence of the Commission and other research. But it being almost unfinished, the puzzle has many pieces that are missing and many which go to the grave with Gavin Watson. Were you quite aware of that problem, that dilemma in how you put together the book?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the point wasn't to write the full story. The point was that there's so much stuff going on, and we get inundated with it all the time. But it's like all over the place. It's like scattergun. Like Paul likes to say, it's like you're wading through honey, or what do you syrup, you know. So
I was going to go with mud, but still.
well, you know, and the point was to try and to write something where the average reader could get a sense of what's happening at this commission. What is this? Because this part of the State Capture Commission, the Guptas were a big part at the beginning, and suddenly it exploded in January into this new area, the Bosasa area, which many people were unaware of, although a lot of had been covered over years, thanks to people like Arjan Mason. But so we tried to just bring it together, and certainly there's a lot more that's going to come out. But I think that we created a basis to try and give people some background, some context, and just tie the strings together. We also don't try to cast judgment. We just put out the facts, tell the story that's been told under oath. It hasn't been tested, but it's been told under oath by multiple witnesses, not only Angela Bates. And that's what we try to do here, to provide something that people can use and say, okay, so this is what's going on.
And also to explain some of the things that happened. For instance, why is this whole thing of, it's not just a matter of certain MPs getting paid. Talking to, when the news came out about Vincent Smith and Cedric Kroger, and I like to hang around the bar in Parliament where the MPs go to.
Stories.
He only drinks water.
and you talk to them and some come to you, several of them came to each other and said, can't believe it's Vincent Smith or Cedric. And I said, 45,000 rand a month. And he said, yes, he told me he was only giving 20,000 rand. Because actually what they do is one goes, I heard you're getting some money from these guys. Yeah, it's only 20,000, right, give me 2,000. Yeah. That's the problem with this corruption story.
Can I ask, if we move up the ranks, obviously former Minister Nomvula Mokonyane features significantly in your book and in the allegations from Angela Bates and other of the Bosasa witnesses. Were any of the MPs in the Bar of Parliament surprised about her mention?
Funny enough, not.
Talk to us about the whole Mama Action concept and why she was such a useful pawn in the Bosasa chessboard if the allegations are true.
Can I take her out of Bosasa for a moment? She was Minister of Water and Sanitation.
This is who we're talking about. Former Minister of several things, including water and sanitation. This is...
Now, water and sanitation. And some years ago, a senior government person, not the ANC, we were chatting, and she said to me, people remember the whole deal about the nuclear deal where it was happening in the corruption and some of the allegations, and she said to me, no, that's not where the real corruption is. Everybody thinks it is. Let me tell you now, it's in water. Because you've got thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of kilometers of piping. You've got all that infrastructure, and money has to be spent on it. That means this is... And which department went bankrupt? Water and sanitation. In 1 year, 3 billion rand has been blown, washed away.
The department had 18 billion rands worth budget per year. 18 billion, not a cent spent in the Western Cape, more roughly. In the 5 years leading to this drought that we had. Give me an idea. We still don't know where the money went.
Yeah, so
I'm not saying it was stolen. Not saying, I'm just laying out facts.
Now the interesting...
Please someone check that on their phone, just for journalistic rigor.
No.
But can we just then go from that broader political perspective, her role in Parliament, the allegations around the Department of Water and Sanitation, and move over to the governing party and the war room, so-called, around ANC elections and her key strategic role? We know she had a senior role in the Gauteng before moving into the cabinet. Yeah. But why would it have been useful for Bosasa to hire cars for her daughter, even though Betty says that they were crashed numerous times? Organize travel through companies that were allegedly fronting for Bosasa, making arrangements to give her Christmas hampers.
She was also, in 2016, she was the ANC's campaign manager for the local elections. When the ANC budget, and she released it, was R1 billion. So Bosasa set up things like the ANC war rooms and all that. Now, you talk about, okay, Bosasa, they say, set up nothing, but there was a big problem with their ANC budget itself. Really, Mantasha spoke about it just after those elections down at the convention centre for the Clothing and Textile Workers Union. And he said, you know, we did quite well in these elections. I'll never forget those words. Even though we had no material, no t-shirts, no budget for transports, no this and this, we did quite well. And I said to him afterwards, well, where did the money? And they also had this weird strike of ANC volunteers who again thought they were being paid and weren't. And he said, well, I said, Mvula said you had R1 billion budget. He goes, yeah, that's true, but we don't know where it went.
No, but Paul isn't making this up.
Well, I would hope not. You put the whole book together. So.
I mean, it's it's bizarre. Look, she's a very powerful woman. She's very close to Jacob Zuma, which is how she became cabinet minister. She's very well connected. And the whole thing about Gavin Watson and Bosasa was connections. She was there at the very beginning, 96, 97, when this company kind of was kick-started. It was run by two old white guys, and they realized in 96, 97, look, there's a new dispensation, we need to become empowered, we need to get black faces in charge or whatever, and they got involved with the ANC Women's League, where Nomvula Mokonyane was prominent. A whole bunch of others were prominent there as well. There was Suli, for example, she got out very quickly when she realized they were going to be running repatriation centers. We were repatriating about 200,000 people at one stage, people back to other African countries. So they had to be housed somewhere because the prisons were full very quickly. So Bosasa started out largely running this repatriation center, and at the beginning, Nomvula Mokonyane was one of only 2 trustees. And right at the beginning of Bosasa. And following that, she became premier in Gauteng, and this company happened to be in Krugersdorp. So, and she's got a house in Krugersdorp, and she's had these long-running links with Bosasa and Gavin Watson for a very long time.
They came from the Eastern Cape.
Yes, and which is where they come from. So these links come a long way, and they're quite intricate. But she's very powerful, very close to ex-President Jacob Zuma, and that's why she's so
The thing as well, she understands in order to have the political clout, she needs a budget. She needs access to a budget. That is why when, after the last election, she was going to be made chair of chairs, Cedric Froelik's job. She apparently objected because there's no budget control there. So,
because they realized they couldn't make a cabinet minister because of all these allegations.
Yeah.
So they said, well, we can't make her a cabinet minister anymore. Let's make a chair of chairs. And then she said, no, well, there's no budget, and I don't want this kind of thing. And then, so where is she now? She's in the Thule house, the same place where Vincent Smith is. So the ANC doesn't disavow these people. They don't get rid of these people. They don't say, go clear your name, and then you come back. They just pull them closer. Same with Ace Magashule, most powerful person in the country, in my view. Despite the allegations, despite what he's done in the Free State. I don't know when last time you were there. I mean, there's several things that are highly questionable, and yet they are just pulled closer. Instead of saying, go clear your name. Until you've cleared your name, we can't be associated with you.
But that, I think, in some ways is the culture of the ANC. Talking about people in cabinet who come up in the allegations around Bosasa, of course, a key name is that of the sitting president, Cyril Ramaphosa, and the issues around the CR17 donation, his incorrect answer in Parliament when he was asked about Andile Ramaphosa's dealings with Bosasa, and the fallout that followed, including a public protector report that found that he was dishonest and breached the ethics code.
This is the thing.
Well, the thing is, I was watching him in Parliament, and the one thing is I've noticed around everybody's a telltale sign. And when he starts talking like this, let's say the answers start becoming creative.
He lied. And so the argument is, perhaps he didn't know he was telling a lie. But if you don't know the answer, don't say anything.
Sure.
Then you shut up.
But I was interested because the evidence of the Commission included the information about this deposit, 500,000 Rand. It was understood that it was sort of made under instructions allegedly from Gavin Watson by a Bosasa accountant or employee or associate, shall we say. And then went into account understood to be linked to Andile Ramaphosa, but destined for the CR17 campaign. But when Ramaphosa started answering the question, talking about how he checked with his son that everything was kosher, and that his son had legitimate business interests to boot Crane, his son's company, with Bosasa, the opposition didn't clarify that the question was actually about this 500,000 Rand into that I can't remember the acronyms, EFG2 or whatever it was account. So it didn't seem to me as though my mind was that clued up on exactly what was in the affidavit and the nature of the deposit as we heard about it at the Commission.
So the problem is also the format of questioning in Parliament. Don't forget, so there's the written question. The President stands up, he gives an answer to that, and then they allow for 4 follow-up questions.
But the person who posed the first one could only ask one question.
Yeah.
Other people.
Other people. So that's the thing. So there's scope for and of course the parties don't initially tell each other what their follow-up questions are going to be, obviously. So they want to keep their thunder.
I don't know.
But
I just felt like a bit of a
No,
plant.
but
It
because
felt
yes,
shadow.
sorry, here's the thing, Erin.
Yeah.
President Ramaphosa, what did he say? He said, when he was asked this tricky question, that I was made aware of this a while ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he failed in order to determine the true facts. And the other thing is, I think the rigor demanded of a sitting president in terms of checking family relations with business, and he was, emphatic that it didn't involve government, it was private sector business. But don't just take your son's word. I mean, if you're in trouble with your dad, are you going to be like, sure, I took some money and put it into your campaign cost?
William Keys, as Treasurer General of the ANC in 2017, wrote a thank you letter to Bosasa for 3 million rand.
And that brings us to the handbag when you're done.
Right, and we asked him about this, and we got an answer saying, well, they didn't know at times that the controversy around Bosasa. Yeah,
So this
really? The SIU support was in report was in 2009.
This is the thing. This is the point. Why? And look, if you're really going to push me, I want to say I think perhaps President Ramaphosa was caught unawares and was massively naive. I don't necessarily think.
That's quite generous.
Yes, but this, I want him to be who we need him to be. Okay, I want him to be who we need, and I can allow for a bunch of things, including that he was misguided, misadvised. But the one thing which is weird and which is kind of unforgivable is who you associate yourself with. If you're about anti-corruption, if you're about doing what's different, if you're about being different to Jacob Zuma, to be different to Jacob Zuma's ANC, you don't get associated with someone like Bosasa. That's bottom line. Don't forget, it wasn't only the 500,000 that his campaign got. His son, Andile Ramaphosa, days before he became the president, got a 2 million rand contract from this company. Now you want to tell me you get a 2 million rand for what?
Smart cities of continent.
It's for consulting. So for me, that is concerning. It's concerning.
And I do think that it has been one of the most sort of prominent post-election, post-sort of state of the nation problems, dilemmas that Ramaphosa has had to deal with it. The words of former President Jacob Zuma saying, in effect, if I paraphrase, you want the state capture inquiry? Sure, you can have it, but brace yourself, because it might just come back to bite you, sort of ringed in my ears. The idea of, was it no honor amongst thieves, also rings in my ears when I think about Bosasa, so often. But there are 2, if not 3, key sort of theatre pieces, props in a way, of the Bosasa evidence of Angelo Prizzi I want to just throw out for you to comment on. The Louis Vuitton handbag, you seem to think you've got to the bottom of which model it was, which was allegedly handed to Cliffordene, who's on the Jacob Zuma Foundation and has been since its inception, allegedly with 300,000 rand cash in it. She says she doesn't blink at 300k because she knows money and she denies the allegations.
She says that she's innocent because 300,000 nothing.
It's not that
And I was telling you the model we have in the audience is a handbag suit.
Oh, really? But just remind me which model it was.
It was called the Neverfull.
Neverfull. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. So that's the one prop. The other one is the birthday cake. Right?
Yes.
Tell us about the birthday cake.
Yeah, so, I mean, Bosasa was often at the beck and call of these very high-powered ANC politicians, and Jacob Zuma was one of them. And they were, and Gavin and Angela agreed to got a request to come up with Gavin Watson allegedly asked him to do it. I suppose you don't have to say allegedly anymore, he's dead, so you can't deny it, right?
Doesn't make it fact though.
No, but he's dead, so you can say anything about the dead you want.
You can.
Am I wrong? I don't know. Anyway, so I'm not saying, but allegedly Gavin Watson told him, listen, called him up and said, we've got to make a birthday cake for Jacob Zuma. And it was over the weekend. So Angelo had a long history as a baker, grew up in this place called Germiston, which I, happen to know a little bit of, this really tough area. Anyway, so he was a baker, so he had to make this massive birthday cake over a weekend. It cost 20,000 rand. So this kind of...
And it had the Bosasa branding on it.
Yeah.
If you see pictures of the birthday cake, the actual logo of the company proudly supporting this. It's the same with the packs of meals they do for ANC events.
Is that wrong though, Erin? It's not necessarily
It
wrong.
depends how good the cake was.
I would agree.
Amongst other things.
I wasn't invited to the party, but...
Well, there's an old saying, anything that can be consumed in one sitting cannot be overbrought because it's gone.
Look,
The wine's good.
we're having a good laugh at it. So it's not necessarily wrong to make a 20,000 rand birthday cake for Jacob Zuma. The question is, why do you do it and what do you get in return? And if you start looking at the other largesse that's handed out and the other allegations, so we know there was a cake for 20,000. We know this. It's a fact. It's also said that Jacob Zuma was getting 300,000 rand quite often from Bosasa in cash. It's also his birthday parties were paid about 3 million over 2 years, amongst others. So when those allegations are made, and you know for a fact things like the cake happened, you start saying, well, then quite possibly the other things happened as well. And I suppose that's why it was...
You know, on the one hand as well, cake here, right? You know, if it was a couple of hundred rand cake, big deal. 20,000 rand cake?
Big deal.
He's
the president though, right? So he deserves a 20,000 rand cake, like he deserves a 10-car motorcade. Come on.
But of course this reveals the kind of the blur between goodwill and gestures of kindness and sweetmeats to the head of state, and then the more worrying sort of threads that pull together. You're handing allegedly a luxury bag to someone known to be very close to the president in the form of Cliffordene, allegedly with 300k in it. Then you have Mokonyane, also very close to the head of state. It starts to complicate the picture. So then the cake is not just a cake, it's an emblem of a kind of sweetening that's going on in the relationship between the Bosasa seniors and
all members of the executive arm of government and parliament, and actually judges to have to make declarations about ex-servicee. So if they get a 1,000 rand book voucher,
anything above 500 rand,
they're actually supposed to declare it.
Yeah.
All
Because
these
they get
guys
2 million rand a year.
have never declared this, because then we can see what Vincent Smith was chairman of the Correctional Services Portfolio Committee. You know,
And Mvula Mokonyane, you note in the book, also when she was in charge in Gauteng, also didn't declare the alleged kickback she was getting from Bosasa.
So that kind of thing. So you can see who the people trying to carry influence. A lawyer was telling me that some years ago, or quite a long time ago, he was dealing with some American companies, and he pointed out that there was a problem with American law wine, they couldn't do something. And they said to him, well, now we'll just follow President W. Bush and tell him about this. He was going, really? And they said, yeah, we donated to his campaign. He's got to listen to us. So I don't need to know about it. He said, no, it's fine. Yeah, it's on the website. You can see how much. And the deal is that Bush has to take their phone call. He doesn't have to do what they're asking to do, but he actually has to give him 5 minutes on the phone.
That's called lobbying.
And that's, to be quite honest with you, people know that. So when it's out there, and what the conditions of the donation are, and it's far more...
So,
and that brings us back to the president as well.
So the point here is, it's not wrong that Bosasa would have a war room. It's not wrong that they would pay millions to the ANC. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not wrong that Gavin Watson is a regular donor, or used to be, and his family are these big donors. It's not wrong. It's not illegal. The question is when they get a 12 billion rands contracts back from government, and you start drilling down and you say, but these contracts were awarded irregularly. There was an SIU report that said
2009.
10 years ago, and nothing happened. Where this report stated as a fact that these people should be prosecuted.
And not only that, when the Hawks they arrest Gritsy, Lyndon and Gillingham, and then leave Gavin Watson out, which is like...
And Bonifacio and a couple of others.
Yeah,
but yes, of course, the stark absence is Gavin Watson.
You can't change a wheel without taking it off the hat.
So yeah, this is an interesting point, because in that 2019 report, I hope you guys, 2009 report, I hope you guys read the book. If you don't, it's available downstairs, and I will write my name in it if you're like, oh, your name, I don't care. Even Erin's name. So the point is this.
But Paul's too, I mean, come on.
I'm sure you can write his own name.
Yeah, but that's an extra book.
So-
You have to buy 2 copies.
What happens in January this year?
Yeah.
There's the secret witness. So we've been hearing about the Guptas. There's this massively important state capture commission going on with this incredible person, Judge Raymond Zondo, Deputy Chief Justice, incredible guy, and Paul Pretorius, and a whole bunch of people trying to unravel state capture. Yeah, trying to unravel this mess that we are in, and it's going to take them a very long time, and I hope we reach somewhere eventually. Point is, what happens? So they've been covering the Guptas since about what was it, August last year. They've been dissecting the Guptas and what the complete crap that they're causing.
It is the Guptas, but they also dealt with Transnet, Danelle,
Yes,
SAA,
sure. But the Guptas had their fingers in there, right?
Yeah.
So, but suddenly, January, boom, completely new avenue. Secret witness Angela Gritti. For the first time, someone who was in the inside comes out and throws it all out and just lifts everything and unveils everything. Okay. So now the point is, what happens? So he testifies for 9 days, and in February, as soon as he's done, 5 of February, for 10 years, nothing's happened. 5 February, finally the government decides we're going to arrest him. Him and everyone who's been implicated in a report that's 10 years old.
Yeah.
That's
Not everyone.
was not,
Pardon?
the NDPP at Kuchana Victoria was
not
up
even
to
involved.
speed on it.
Okay.
And the other issue is that the SIU report in itself is defective because the SIU, for some or other reason, as we know from another witness of the state capture inquiry who worked on it, got into an agreement where they were, agreed to not look at Gavin Watson.
So this is the point that I want to get to. When you're talking about Gavin Watson and how he's not. So this report in 2009, which the SIU took about 2 or 3 years to get to, doesn't mention Gavin Watson once. And now in February this year, the people that were implicated in that report, that's 10 years old, all get arrested, and 20 other whistleblowers into Bosasa and the ANC run for the hills and say we're not testifying anymore because these people have been arrested.
And
Gavin
also
Watson
impairs the Mokoro inquiry
Yes.
to Jiba and Mkhweli
Yes.
because the Grisi was going to testify at that, and then he's like,
he pulls out. He says he doesn't. Sorry, we're jumping all over the place. But the point is, Gavin Watson wasn't mentioned in that original report, so he's not arrested now. But why isn't he mentioned in the original report? Because it was orchestrated, and someone like Willie Hoffmeyer refused to tell us why, because he was the guy who said they reached a deal. Bosasa said, look, you can investigate us, but we're going to sue you, we're going to block you. So the SIU said, fine, so what are your rules? Under what conditions can we? And they said, you don't speak to Gavin Watson. Can you imagine that? The CEO of the company.
Yeah.
So they don't
They're
speak
telling
to
the SIU
Yes.
how to jump
That's
right.
right. So that whole report shows massive corruption. It implicates a lot of people, but they weren't allowed to speak to Gavin Watson or test anything against him. So he's never mentioned. Until today, him and his family or everybody else close to him says, but he was never mentioned. He's innocent.
But this is a bizarre thing because on the Stanoff issue, when Eerste came to Parliament, the deal was they wouldn't ask him quickly. He just gave a little speech there and they
Great monologue.
and then off he walked. I mean,
With
how?
advocates in tow.
Yeah, well, if not more, because I think there are a whole lot of others there. But this is how do people in authority, in state authority and government, actually get themselves negotiating to a situation like that?
Well, interesting, and I don't know if you mentioned Stanoff because James-Brent Styan also has a book on Steinholm, so that might be a subtle hint to get that too while you're downstairs. Will you sign that one as well?
It's
Will
all
you
right.
sign that one as well? But it does lead us to a potential answer. The answer lies with prosecution bodies, the police service, the court system, the justice system, overall the National Prosecuting Authority. We know on Angelo Grizi's evidence that there are allegations that through Lyndon T, they were able to acquire confidential NPA documents, which allegedly Dudunieri handed over in a Pretoria hotel. He denies it, didn't happen, it's all made up. And the idea of paying off the so-called snake and snail, and
That's right.
I think it's Mkhweli Jiba who said that she wants to challenge the nickname because it's so offensive. I think of the two nicknames, frankly, the snake is the better one because she's supposed to be really stealthy and poisonous and, sus. And poor Lawrence Mkhweli allegedly was called the snail by Lyndon T because he wasn't quite as swift and,
He only got
astute.
10,000 though, and Snake got 50. So
Goes the allegation.
Yeah.
allegedly.
So that speaks to the kind of porousness of the NPA.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think the big lesson, writing books, you also try to, for me, try to give a warning so we can learn something, so we don't, and we can open our eyes and understand what's going on. And Styan off in the same thing, so we can understand, and the way that this network of capture happened, and who were involved, the NPA, even the SIU, even the Justice Department. I mean, it's astounding the network. Up to 38 people were allegedly being bribed every month with cash bribes. Between 4 and 6 million rand cash was being paid out by Bosasa monthly.
According to Beats' evidence, which other Bosasa people have to speak.
We're talking about Bosasa, but we keep mentioning Styan off, and what I find so fascinating is the both are actually two of the biggest frauds or cases in South African history. So, although and Bosasa is at the total centre of political corruption. I mean, it's not total; it's really not far from that. Steinhoff is a fraud on a massive scale, but actually, it's not in South Africa; it's overseas. Yet we have parliamentary hearings about Steinhoff and not a mention about Bosasa in Parliament.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Because we know that Angelo Beatty claimed that the Watsons are the most powerful family in the country, and there is, just to punt the book a little bit more, as briefed, the opening chapter is very interesting. All right, just let me sell your book for you, will you? Just give me a minute. There's a very interesting background on the Watson family in the Eastern Cape, the history of the four brothers. I believe there's a sister as well, their relationship to the ANC and to rugby as well, which comes up again toward the end of the book. But how much political clout do you think the Watson family had, or maybe still has in some ways? And was Agrizi hyperbolic when he said they're the most powerful family in the country?
Look, Angelo, I think, is very close to this story and to the Watsons. So he likes to think that they are the most powerful family in the country, which I doubt. I don't think so. But certainly they're very influential and very powerful, and a very powerful Eastern Cape family. And very strong links to very senior people in the ANC. And they did incredible work during the struggle. From the 1976, early 80s, it's very tough, especially often I would imagine being white, when you are ostracized by your own people even, for being part of the struggle. I mean, it must have been incredibly trying, which is why I don't think Gavin was running away, by the way. He's not the running away type when he died. This family has, to their credit, did a lot of good. But certainly very powerful, very influential. How influential they still are, given the change in leadership from Zuma to Ramaphosa, I'm not sure. But yeah, I don't think they're the most powerful.
I think they're very astute at identifying who could be the next person to help them. So they identified Mvula, they knew she was on the rise. Through her, they made sure to get closer to. Because the interesting thing is, never mention about Thabo Mbeki. It's Zuma. So they leave out that whole Thabo Mbeki era.
But Nkonde Balfour comes up.
Comes up, but exactly. But,
on the periphery.
Yeah. And then, so they're very, very identifying. And just think about it. When they started courting Ramaphosa's son, was 2017, when the CR17 campaign was actually just before it started getting underway. So they were very, very clever at, or Devin Watson at the very least, at identifying where almost the next meal ticket could come from. So and that is because he did have intimate knowledge of a lot of these people. And he had a reputation for keeping quiet. To get a quote out of him was impossible. He never said anything. And he always looked as though he'd just come out of Botox. I don't know how
Your book is called Bosasa Billions, so it would be remiss of us to have this conversation without talking about the oven and the bread, so the cash going into the vault, the grey security bags, the chicken orders of the week. I mean, the lexicon, the kind of thesaurus of pseudonyms for cash money from Bosasa is fascinating and also quite sinister.
Well, they say Eskimos have like 100 names of snow. So I'm not surprised with dealing in cash, they've probably got quite a few names.
I think between 4 to 6 million in cash bribes per month allegedly being paid out to more than 38 people. Where do you get that amount of cash? So the money laundering happening is another interesting concept that's been happening here. And the bigger question as well, which I like to think of when you think on this issue, which other companies are doing this?
Absolutely.
Where else is this happening? This has been happening for so long and nobody seemed to have picked it up. If Angela Breach didn't go and testify, most of this wouldn't have happened. This company wouldn't have been, they are currently being liquidated. It wouldn't have been happened. That wouldn't have happened. They would have still been going on in all likelihood. So certainly, you know, whether there was, and I think there was this massive falling out between thieves. They're all criminals. And even though Angelo agrees to, I met a couple of times and he thinks I'm one of his friends, and I treat him well. I don't have any grudge against any of them, including Gavin Watson. I don't. I just try to tell a story and lay it out so to let readers decide for themselves. You cast the judgment. That's what we try to do. But so the kind of, you know, the things that they did to get the cash was pretty astounding. We pack it out in a way. I mean, so one of the tricks that they did was because they do catering at most of the biggest prisons in the country, they needed a lot of food. But and they had a deal going with someone who would text them every Monday morning and say, how many tons of chicken do you need? But it wasn't chicken, it was cash. So a ton of chicken would be R1 million. So every Monday they would say, well, this is why we need 1.5 tons of chicken. But no chicken ever gets delivered. It would be boxes of cash. And some of the hard evidence that was seen, and is available on YouTube if you want to go Google it, was boxes of hard cash arriving at Bosasa's headquarters, taken in by one of the people called Jacob Zuma. I did speak to him as well. And very interesting, he thinks Gavin Watson's completely innocent, by the way. But anyway, the point is, the way that's where the religion comes in, I think. You've got these very religious white Afrikaans people, for a company that was doing so much to uplift black people, they had surprisingly a lot of white people in most senior positions. And many of them, I think, were very pliable, especially when you look at the religious thing, very religious, doing 2-hour prayer sessions every morning, didn't have a problem with that. And I think that was another way that
James
Gavin could control people.
We had a conversation when we were writing a book about this. And I said to him, it seems to me there are only two people in Bosasa who have a sense of imagination, Watson and Breach. The rest of them were as dry as dust. Not that they're not nice people, but if you told them to open the gate, they'll go open the gate.
Yes.
You'd have to go and tell them to close the gate.
You told them to delete CCTV footage of Zuma visiting Bosasa precinct.
One chap talks about buying a car and putting the money, and he was told by the account to put the money into his account and transfer it. To be quite honest, if my employer had to come and ask me to put money into my account to pay somebody, I would so not be happy about this.
So you work in
and he just says, this is a bit strange, but he went ahead with it.
I mean, it's bizarre, right?
I think, but it is interesting because it brings us to a critical aspect of Abritzi's testimony, and one of the most devastating moments, I think, during that slew of evidence he gave. At the time, he was the longest standing witness to consecutively testify, and there were, of course, all those concerns over security. But the issue of his racism and him admitting to the Deputy Chief Justice, this man who grew up, as we learn in your book, in rural KZN, went through great struggles to become the Deputy Chief Justice of the state. It's a devastating moment, but it's also embroiled in the kind of mutiny going on at Bosasa, the fight between different factions, it seems. His resentment for the likes of Papa Leshabane and Johannes Dumede, who are two black directors on the board of Bosasa, and then the other evidence from executives around them being told, because they were white older men, that they wouldn't get work elsewhere, and that being wielded as a form of intimidation against them. And the kind of racial dynamics at play in Abritzi's potential bitterness and falling out with Gavin Watson. Did you get any clarity on what exactly was going on was he induced to just be so flagrantly offensive and, as Paul Vecchiatto calls it, nakedly racist?
It's an interesting one. He claims to have been heavily not himself. So he was drunk. Because there was a secret recording that was played at the hearing.
And it had leaked to the press by then as well.
Yeah, it was massively. But the story is so interesting. It really is, because the family members, close family members of Gavin Watson, go to see Angelo Gritti in his house, in Angelo Gritti's house, where they talk to 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, and he keeps drinking, and they keep talking, and they keep talking. Kind of entrapment in a sense, and he keeps talking about the K word, and he's being vilely racist. But they don't seem bothered about it either, do they? They don't. And then, lo and behold, when these kind of bombshells start dropping, this recording, which has been secretly made by the family of Gavin Watson, it's the media. In Agriti's house. Now, as the Justice Deputy Zondo says, even if you know your own house, are you supposed to be racist there? Does that make it good? No, of course not. So the fact that Agriti is a racist is without doubt. He's a racist. Okay. But to what extent did they know he's a racist a long time ahead of that evening? And they went there with the knowledge that he was going to say something which is going to sink his whole thing, which would potentially bring Gavin Watson and Bosasa down. So it's a way of, if you know someone's a racist or you know someone's a criminal, and you're not pointing them out, but you're actually using it to further uplift yourself. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense, but it makes me think about filming the money going through the vault. I mean, it's tit for tat kind of thing, and that's the whole mess of Bosasa.
That's why. They're all criminals.
The big difference is the filming of the money that is how it kind of happened. The recording of Agriti is a kind of set him up, as James said.
But he wouldn't have said those things if it wasn't within him to begin with. I do think what is a masterstroke, though, is after the South African Human Rights Commission decides to prosecute Angelo Agriti over the remarks, which the Commission has now aired and which were in the press, he agrees to pay this penalty. He's going to go to work in communities to kind of absolve himself of this crime that he admits to have committed, and he apologizes to the nation. And then he persuades the South African Human Rights Council that, according to legislation, they should actually go after the people who've been disseminating the recording, because the wording of the statute around hate speech is that you're liable if you spread it. And so he kind of manages to wrangle, stabbing whoever stabbed him right back in the gut. And that, for me, is just emblematic of the very complex figure that is Angelo Agriti.
Absolutely, it's an interesting thing that what's it in rugby turnover screenplay?
Something like that. Look, he's an interesting character, and I tell you, when I met him in Joburg, the people around, just normal doormen at the hotel, the restaurant, black people. This was after the racism. They fall over themselves to take photos with him. Good luck, sir. You've done a good job. You're incredible. Incredible to interesting to observe that. The way that people look up to him, that here's this guy standing up who's done this thing against, I suppose, corruption. I don't know. That was...
With many complex motives, yes.
Yeah.
There are two things I just want to say on Angelo Agriti, and I think we should open it then to the floor for some questions from the audience. The one is, just to return to the first chapter of the book, where you deal with the Watsons and the brothers' kind of upbringing in the Eastern Cape, and then going to a very established school and being so good in rugby. At moments I wondered if there was a kind of distinction between where Angelo Agriti felt himself posited socially and kind of class-wise, even after all of the money through Bosasa and the kind of rising up the ranks, and the likes of Gavin Watson and the guy from Arms Corps.
It wasn't just that.
Yeah.
Agriti mentions that Gavin Watson could be kind of cruel. And Gavin Watson, driving on one day, tells a story in the book on how Gavin Watson started like mocking fat people.
Fat shaming.
Yeah, and that sort of thing. And I think that's, I've got a feeling that conversation was kind of a turn with a Gritty, is what are you actually saying to me? And I've got a feeling that that shows that Gavin Watson, there's a lot of people describe him as a kind of stern headmaster. One of those people with sort of 2 words could cut you down to...
It's the dynamics are incredible, and yes, you've got this, it's almost blue blood, ANC, stalwart, royalty from the Eastern Cape, and you've got this blue collar guy from Germiston who's kind of worked his way up and earning mega bucks, driving Ferraris and trying to catch up all the time. The dynamics are just fascinating.
And that brings me to my final point. So there's so much anecdote that I'm surprised your book isn't 3 times as long, but I know you were chasing the clock. There were moments in Agritti's testimony, I remember, where he wanted to demonstrate his refinement. Perhaps a bit like with Fakey Mentor, when we learned that she had a fascination and a predilection for French art, and that's how she observed the murals in the Gupta's gold-gilded house. And then she liked the finer things in life, and she noted the beautiful luggage of one of the president's spouses in an airport. With Agritti, we heard about it in terms of his shirts, that he liked a certain kind of shirt, that he was insistent on having a certain kind of pen that he always had. I think it was a Mont Blanc, and Mont Blanc's come up as gifts in your book as well. His fishing trips to Italy every year, was kind of trying to demonstrate his refinement and good taste. But the tackiness of the Ferrari feet is just, an emblem in itself. And that's where I'm going to leave it.